Welcome to Scoop World Owners. The day after the sun that did come up after Ohio State had their stunning loss up in Ann Arbor versus Michigan. We're going to go over some of the game film, some things we could get better at. Do we have a shot at the playoffs? We need a little bit of help to get in, obviously, but it ain't dead. And I think that the future is very bright for Ohio State and Ryan Day. So I'm going to get into a little bit of that with the Vadabuck. But first, as always, we appreciate you guys. We set a record in super chats last night. You guys had a lot of questions. We had a lot of answers. So if you guys have questions you want answered, hit that super chat button and send it in. We stop the show immediately. We answer the super chats. It's been a great system. You guys have a lot of great stuff that you want answered, and we try to do the best we can with that. We're going to break some film down as well. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell. Shout out where you guys are watching from. We haven't done that in a few days. I love seeing where you guys are watching from. And also let me know, what do you think the future of Ohio State football is? Not too broad, but is Kyle Mccord the guy? I think Ryan Day is absolutely the answer at head coach. But again, I know there's a lot of consternation out there in the web. Nevada, with Ryan Day, he's catching a lot of flack. Obviously, 1-3 against Michigan. He's lost to three very good Michigan teams, two in which they were cheating. And this one, yesterday, they lose by 6 points to a team that was favored to beat them in Ann Arbor. Again, it's never appropriate to lose to Michigan, but this is a good Michigan team. So I think the teams played really hard. It wasn't 42-23 or whatever it was the year before. A 6 point loss. Again, the mistakes killed us. Obviously, the pick at the beginning of the game was a crusher. At the very end, we couldn't pass protect, and Kyle Mccord got hit and threw up the last lollipop pick. What are your thoughts on the program right now? Because again, Ryan Day and Kyle McCord, they get an exorbitant amount of the blame during losses. They get extra credit during the wins. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think that we're at a very, very good spot, but we can be better. And I think, the way that you get better sometimes is through going through a little bit of adversity and kind of dealing with situations that cause you to have a little self introspection and, figure out what changes need to be made to kind of take you to the next level. I don't think life in general, whether it be business, personal, or whatever, is just a straight line from left to right up. I think it's up, down, up, down, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And, I think that there's got to be a recognition on Ryan's part of the things that he does well and the things that he can do to improve. And I think that's how this program gets to the next level. I mean, people have to remember that Ryan is still a relatively young coach. I mean, he's only this is his 5th year of coaching. Most guys have their first head coaching job at Ohio State. And that was Ryan's path. And we got to remember, Kirby Smart started off, wasn't fantastic at Georgia, and ended up winning back-to-back national championships. Maybe we'll win a third one this year. So, I think Ryan's got a long, productive coaching future ahead of him. We saw that Elko took the Texas A&M job. As we talked about, there was no way that Ryan was going to Texas A&M. That made no sense at all. But I think the future is bright, but obviously there's things that we can do to improve and things that we have to do to improve.
Well, yeah, I think that it's important. Ryan, the hard part about Ryan is like his growth in the coaching profession has been so supersonic. He goes from being, he got fired 2 straight years, Philadelphia, got fired at San Francisco. Urban needed a coordinator, and Chip Kelly is his right hand guy, and Chip's like, hey, I got a guy for you. He's really good. He's really bright. He knows he's great with it. He can modernize your passing scheme. They come in, they interview. Ryan blew Urban away with some of the concepts that he wanted to run, and Urban hired him. So he was there for a couple years, and by 18 when Urban was ready to hang it up, and he had the tumultuous stuff with with that offseason. He was kind of over the administration not supporting him. And, instead of, Urban's a guy, and again, people are going to roll their eyes or whatever, but he's got, he doesn't want to upset the apple cart, and he's got a lot of virtue in the fact that, he knows if he resigns, if there isn't like a strategic plan in place to keep, to promote someone from within, then there's a good chance Gene Smith could go outside the program and a lot of guys lose their jobs. Because that's the problem with when a coach resigns, it's the same as getting fired. Everybody leaves, everybody's gone, everybody's wiped out. And you got guys that are not just position coaches, but support staff like Brian Voltolini, Mark Biantoni, those guys, they'd be looking for work. And so Urban thought that the best plan of succession would be give Ryan Day the whistle, let him take over as a head coach. And again, I think it's been good. I mean, it's been above average. Again, the hard part for Ryan is like he has to learn on the job in the most white hot spotlight in the world. He's not at Wisconsin. He's not at any. I mean, this is the number one job in college football, and our fans are very, very demanding. And again, I love that they're demanding because that means that they care. But Ryan, sometimes when he's making mistakes, he doesn't get to make them at Bowling Green or Utah or wherever. Nick Saban, obviously, he coached at Toledo, he coached at Michigan State. And that's not the same spotlight that there is at LSU or Alabama, where he's winning national titles. So Ryan's, he's kind of learning. I think that he's made mistakes. I think he knows he's made mistakes. I think he's tried to clean up his coaching staff and promote guys and move guys and fire guys and whatever. But I still not sure if he has the right 10 guys surrounding him. It'll be interesting to see if there's any transition this offseason. I don't know who there could be. I mean, Indiana's open, obviously. That's like one of Justin Fry's. It's probably not his dream job, but he played there as a captain there. It'd make a lot of sense to hire an offensive coordinator from Ohio State. But again, I don't know if they want to take a good MAC coach, if they want to take a chance on an alumnus who is a coordinator at Ohio State. A lot of cachet there. Nevada.
Well, Chris, before you get into that, I want to ask you a question on something you just said, because you said that you think that Ryan realizes he made mistakes. Do you really think Ryan realizes that he made mistakes? Because I listened to his post-game conference, and there were a couple of sequences that I specifically had questions about. On the 4th and 1 from the 46-yard line, which frankly, I thought Xavier made the first down on that play. I thought that the spot was terrible. And then secondly, on the sequence at the end of the first half where he ran the ball, he let the clock run down for the 52-yard field goal instead of trusting his offense to get 2 yards from deep in Michigan's territory. Do you think he knows? Where do you think he is in terms of?
Here's the thing. I don't know. That's a great question. And so I walk that back because and again, I'm not trying to be himish hosh or whatever, but I think that. I think that the problem with his staff right now is he has too many young guys. Too many young guys that, frankly, if you blew the Woody Hayes up, I don't know where they'd land up, but they're probably not all going to Alabama or Texas A&M or Georgia. And I honestly, God, really think he misses Kevin Wilson. I think Kevin Wilson was a guy that wasn't scared of Ryan. I think he was a guy that he's coached national championship games before Ryan was really anything. I mean, he was coaching in championship games when Ryan was a quarterback's coach at Boston College, absolute nobody. I mean, Wilson was running Oklahoma's offense when they were Adrian Peterson and Bradford. And so, I mean, he's been around the block. He's been a head coach. And I think that when your coaching staff is mostly young coaches that haven't been around the block, they haven't been in up the creek, so to speak, they don't really know how to say anything. And plus, if I was a young coach, if I saw these young guys, 27, 28, 30 years old, and I had this plum job, I would never say anything negative to Ryan because I'd be like, look, if he fires me, I might be going to Kent State. I might be going to Akron. I might be going to wherever. So, I mean, that's a real thing. Like, if Wilson gets fired, he's a head coach at Tulsa. He's still making a couple million a year. Like, he's doing fine. Like, but some of these guys, like, I just don't know what would their floor be if they got let go today. And so, I think that I don't think he has enough of a support system around him that can really call him to the carpet and say, hey, look, we need to do this here. Or, hey, your time management. Again, having an adult in the booth is something that you've said a lot. And I think there's something to that because, again, like when I was in the booth next to Tom Herman and Tim Hinton, like Tom Herman had a whole chart up of the times. And, this is, how, if you got to grind the clock down 4 minutes, like how low can you get with 2 first downs, 1 first down? What do you need? It's like, so like what the clock management was a lot cleaner because we had everything laid out in front of us. And, if Tom said something, Urban listened to him because, he's the coordinator. And again, it wasn't like we were guessing. We had it all laid out. We had all the analytics like ready to go. So, but I don't know. I mean, I think that the hardest part is when you replace Wilson with a young guy, and it's nothing against Keenan Bailey, but he's a first year coach, and I'm sure that he's dynamic and he's great with recruits and whatever, but he hasn't really been in the wars as like a real coach, like and he's a superstar rising guy, but it's hard for him to say anything negative to Ryan Day because he doesn't have that clout. He hasn't been around the block. He's not older. And really, it's a really young staff when you look at it, especially on the offensive side of the ball. it's a really young staff. I mean Brian Hartline's 37-ish maybe, and then Corey's early 30s, Keenan's like 27, and then Justin Fry's like 40. So I mean that's a really really young staff on offense. And then you had Parker Fleming who's maybe 35 or so, and so you've got a lot of young dudes over there. And sometimes it's good to have an old head like Kevin Wilson who's 50s, 60s, whatever Kevin is, and he is, like I said, he coached at Oklahoma. He was a head coach for when Indiana was really good, he was their guy. So I don't know. It's just interesting. We're getting a couple super chats, but you can respond to that, Nevada, before we get into a couple of these super chats.
Yeah, no, I just think for me, look, when I see that in business, when I see people that kind of surround themselves with younger, more inexperienced people, and you dare say, yes, guys, you just wonder how much that manager wants to be challenged. How much does he want to have those old hands that are really kind of doing it? And that's my only, not my only, but it's a concern with Ryan. Uh, that he continues to do that, and that seems to be kind of a hallmark of his coaching career at Ohio State. He likes to have those younger guys around him. He likes to have those inexperienced guys around him. He likes to have those guys around him that nod and say, "Yes, Ryan, that's great, Ryan." I don't think Ryan likes to be challenged. I don't think Ryan likes to have his, that's why he's a control freak. I mean, he was a quarterback. He likes to have the look back at me thing. He likes to feel like he's still playing quarterback in there with these guys. And I think that's fine, but you have to recognize that other parts of your job suffer when you do that. And I would hope that you have other people like, this is where you hope that Gene Smith or other people would have stepped in and said, Ryan, these are things that we need to change or things that we have to change, because we seem to have the same issues over and over and over and over again. And that's the part that's frustrating. Having said that, do I want Ryan Day to leave? I wrote in my column today, I don't want Ryan Day to leave. I think talking about Ryan Day leaving Ohio State is crazy talk. I think that from a fan's perspective, man, you be careful what you wish for, because the grass is not always greener. And we've lost some games. It's football. When you go on the road to Ann Arbor and play a semi-competent Michigan team. And this team was more than semi-competent. They're a good Michigan, not a great Michigan team, but a good solid Michigan team that plays a clean game. It's hard to win. You almost lost to not a great Michigan in 05. Not a great Michigan team. And you know how tough it is to win up there. It is not easy to win up there. And we had the ball. I thought we were going to win. I was convinced that we were going to win. I was convinced we were going to score. We just one bad play, one bad thing. But we were in this game to the very end. Super proud of the guys. Forced myself to watch the game a second time today. And you just realize it came down to a handful of high value plays that all broke against us. Every one of them. The catch / fumble / interception on the Burke thing in the end zone that was ruled a touchdown. The pick down to the 7, the missed field goal. I mean, those plays right there are the difference between winning and losing, and they just all broke against us in a day where Michigan did not have a single thing break against them. They didn't. No turnovers, 2 penalties, no mistakes, and we just had too many mistakes. And specifically, when it's 0-0 against Michigan, and you give them a touchdown by getting them the ball on the 7-yard line, man, that's worth like 14 points, because Michigan is a team that needs to play from the front. They cannot, if they get behind, it changes everything for them. And that changed the whole game. We never had the lead in the game. We were chasing the whole game because of that, by getting down in that situation. And that's why I thought it was so important on that 4th and 1 from the 46. I think you have to go for it, because you have to get the lead. You have to go for it. You have to send the message to your team that you're playing to win. And the play calling, I cannot make this point loudly enough. When you are calling plays, realizing that you have 4 plays to make 10 yards, not 3 plays to make 10 yards, it changes everything. It changes what your run options are. It changes what your passing concepts are. It changes everything. And I just think the difference, a big difference yesterday was Michigan was committed to using all 4 plays to get 10 yards, and Ryan just was not. Ryan was committed to 3 plays, and if we were 6 inches short, he was punting. And that's in a game that's decided by one possession or one score or one field goal. That's the difference, and that ended up being the difference. So tough pill to swallow, but all hope is not lost, and I still think there's a lot of football to be played this year.
Yeah, and this is the player we're talking about. So this is kind of crazy town. The more I watch this, and I talked to some guys that I really respect in coaching about this exact play, and like you're running the RPO where you've got Trey coming across, and if you hand this to Trey, this is actually, I mean, if Trey's got the ball right here, I mean, this thing's got a chance. You're manned up here, they're reaching here. I mean, this has a real chance if you hand this. Now, I don't know if this is a true read. Again, I always give guys the benefit of the doubt, but this is Will Johnson. He's the best corner maybe in America. He's definitely the best corner in the Big Ten. And just based on he's playing off man, and he's looking right at the quarterback. So if you're running this RPO, Marvin, and again, like I know Marvin Harrison is the greatest receiver in the history of mankind, but you can't tell me that he's running as hard as he possibly can on the slant. I mean, there's just no way. A guy that is running like a 25 miles an hour or whatever his little GPS thing. I mean, that is not running off the ball. I'm sorry. That is like a 3/4 jog, and this guy jumps it. And again, I know Marvin is the pantheon of great receivers in college football history, but for one, I don't know how on earth you let a guy make a throw when this guy is literally reading you and just on the leverage. He's inside leverage. This is like, if you're running a slant here, this is impossible. So the guy jumps it. He sees it right away. I mean, this guy watches a lot of tape, and this guy's a first round pick at corner. He's a good player. So, I mean, we decided to try him, and, he snags it because, again, he's watched film. Marvin's not running hard off the ball. And again, I love Marvin. I think he's a great, great kid. I'm not being critical of Marvin, but on this play, I'm being critical of Marvin because I'm telling you, it's like, you got to run your slant harder than this dude. And so he gets picked, and it's just kind of like, and then he gets knocked out, and it's just like go get it, dude. Go get the guy. Go run. This guy's running still. This guy's literally still on his feet, and Marvin's just standing there. And again, I'm not trying to make this a whatever session. This isn't back in my day we would have ran, but it's like you got to either catch this ball or bring it up, or really Kyle just has to say, look, there's no way I'm throwing this route versus this inside leverage where he's going to jump it. And he's literally just reading Kyle's eyes. This is like stealing, but he throws it and he picks it, and it's just bad all the way around it. Again, I don't know how you're running an RPO with that slant right there versus that corner versus that leverage. Like that is insane to me. But, again, I'm not going to get into beating it down. I know Ryan Day's, forgot more about the passing game than I have, but I sat in those meetings too, and I know when not to throw a slant. And if a guy's not going to run hard, then I don't know where you're getting at. So super chat, $2. Who and how applies real pressure to Ryan Day? That is a great question, Nevada. I'll let you take that first because I don't know. I mean, Gene Smith is a lame duck. I was gonna call him GM. He's a lame duck AD right now. So I don't know. I mean, Ryan's kind of operating as a man without a king right now. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
I mean, it's got to be the AD. I mean, the AD is really the only one that the coach is responsible to. There's nobody inside the program that really pressures. I mean, he's got Joe Philbin, but there's nobody inside the thing that puts any heat on him, and it's Gene Smith. And I mean, Gene. Look, at this point, Gene's a hollow vessel. I saw Gene getting into it on the sideline with the sideline official dropping F-bombs, and so he's clearly on tilt as well. And so I don't know. It just seems like we need, the good first step was getting a new university president who I love, which I think is great. Now we got to get a good, athletic director that that can stand up and really kind of everybody's got to be accountable to everybody. Everybody's accountable. Even as a CEO of a successful company, you're accountable to a board, or nobody is just an island unto themselves that makes all the decisions. As the czar of everything with no responsibility. So somebody's got to be able to point out to Ryan when he does things that are good and when he does things that are, that need improvement. And, this would be one of those times. And, as for that play that you were just, I mean, the irony of that thing is if he just hands it off to Trey, Trey might take that to the house. If he just hands it off because he's got the edge. And
this is what I wanted all day. I was like, please edge the defense like all day. Like this is dead. Like this is dead right here. Dead. Here, climb. This guy has to make the play, and we're working it. Like I mean, like at this point, we're hat across the board. I mean, if Trey has this ball, he can go anywhere. I mean, he can go up the sideline. I mean, but no matter what, he's gaining yards on this play. And there's edges everywhere. So it's just again, but this kind of sums up the day for the Bucs because I mean, like we've got free money, free yardage, and we throw something back here that like I don't know how pre-snap you don't look at that and say, yeah, I'm not trying that corner in that leverage, but again, it's easy for me to sit here.
But I mean, but that is what's frustrating is like that's doing offense the hardest way possible right there. Instead of just handing the ball off to your 4-3 running back, you can run it. We did, and again, the fact that our quarterback doesn't present any viable rushing threat, we do offense the hardest way possible. We do. And really and you see every week you go watch other teams. Go watch other teams that do not have 1/100th of the talent that we do offensively, but they have a scheme that allows them to just pour points up on the board because they're creative. And every single one of them has one thing in common, and that's a quarterback that'll run. Every single one of them. Yep. And as long as we insist upon being the only team in college football that doesn't run the quarterback, we're always going to be disadvantaged.
Yeah, no, I mean absolutely. That's just the deal. And here it is from the back end. I mean, again, if you're Kyle and you're looking at this, like, I mean, this guy's looking right at you. This guy is, I mean, he is reading your eyes and he is thinking that this is an RPO formation. They like to run this out of this. And again, like if you look at the edge, I mean, he's got this guy, the combo up here. I mean, really there's two different holes. So this combo, I mean, they've got, these two have these two and these two have these two, and Emeka can get in the way out here and Julian can get the way out here. But like, if this ball's handed right here, when you've got Josh is going to push him and climb there, and then Carson's going to push him and climb there. I mean, he cut it right there, right up the gut. I mean, look, I mean, we're covered all the way across the board. I mean, but instead we throw it back here where there's a safety, there's a linebacker playing this, and again, like just by this leverage, like the leverage at pre-snap is like. I mean, that is like a death knell. I mean, trying to throw that again. We're not playing Rutgers. We're playing a real team now. So I mean, and this is the one corner that I wouldn't try, and we tried him. And again, it's just stupid. It's a play, but that when it's a 0-0 game and it's a fist fight and our defense is playing their balls off, like, and then you put them on the 7, and then they still hold them. It still takes 4th down. I mean, this is 4th and goal to get it in. I mean, so our defense fights, and then they finally crack it in. But it's just like, I don't know what you expect to do to the defense when you put them in a hole like that. It's demoralizing for the team. Again, I know it's early in the game, first quarter, but Michigan deferred and they're getting the ball at half. So for them to go up 7-0, when they get ahead, they're tremendously hard to defeat. They remind me of like an old Wisconsin team. You get an old Wisconsin team, if you get them behind, they're dead meat because they can't throw it. They're not great at throwing it. They want to ground and pound. They want to hand it off to one of their big running backs. Like that was the key to beating like Wisconsin back then. Because this wasn't like the old Michigan teams like that I went against that had Braylon and Manningham, and those guys could throw it and come back. Like these guys, they're not built like that. I mean, JJ McCarthy had like 150 yards passing, so they want to get in front and they want to smash your face in, and it's kind of what they did. M. DeLuca, thanks for the deuce. What's our path to get in? Florida State loss? Yeah, Florida State has to lose, obviously, to Louisville. I think Washington, Washington has to smash. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that have to lose. I mean, Washington has to smash Oregon. Oregon would be down to 2 losses, so that would bump them out. I think Oregon beating Washington is obviously that kills us because, I mean, Washington would get them before we would just because they played in the championship game. Nevada, I know it's life support. Texas has to lose. I mean, they've got one loss, and their one loss was last second against Oklahoma. And they beat Bama at Bama, and Bama's turned out to be pretty good. So, your thoughts? I mean, kind of life support-ish.
I mean, life support has been not impossible at all. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
not
Yeah.
impossible at all.
Anything is
Life.
possible. I mean, last year we needed SC to lose, and Utah with Cam Rising whooped them, so it wasn't even close. So, anything can happen in college football.
No, anything can definitely happen, and you know, like I would contend that if Oregon beat Washington, that our resume is better than Oregon's. You know what I'm saying? I think
Oh yeah.
we have a better loss. We have a loss to the number 2 team in the country on the road by 6 points.
Yeah.
That's our loss. Their
Yeah. Where
loss would be to
we're throwing
Washington.
at the end zone at the end of the game too.
Yeah, and Washington at that point with Oregon beating them would be like what, number 12 or something, because Washington is the most ridiculous team that's ever been undefeated at this point in time.
Yeah.
They've had literally like 6 or 7 games that, I mean, they literally had a 4th and 1 on their own 29, tied 21-21 yesterday against Washington State with a minute to go in the game, and they went for it and converted it and went on to drive to win the game. That's how close that game was yesterday for Washington. So, do I think we'd get in over Oregon? I don't think we could, but I think you certainly could make an argument for it. Better loss and every bit as good a wins. So, I mean, our win against Penn State is every bit as good as any win that they would have, and our loss is better than our loss. The only difference they would have would be a conference championship. But look, we lost on the road to the number 2 team in the country by 1 score. So I think that's a very powerful resume builder. But we'll see. A lot of football have to be played, but crazier things have happened. So stay tuned.
I totally agree. Casey, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. You're in here every night. You're also a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you so much. What is his record against top 10 teams, not just ranked teams? How many points has he averaged in those games? I truly believe, it would benefit Day to not call the plays. Something has to change. I mean, the record against, I'm not sure about top 10, but I know like the teams that have equal talent, it's not great because, you only see equal talent when you play Michigan or Georgia or Clemson. I think he's 1 or 2 in whatever. I mean, he's beaten Michigan once, he beat Clemson once, he lost to Clemson, lost to Bama, lost to Georgia. Again, it just kind of is what it is when you're at Ohio State. Like, you get judged by beating the good teams. You don't get judged by sacking up 57 wins versus the rest of the Big Ten, and that's kind of what it is. I don't know what he's averaged points wise. I feel like a lot of the games the offense has been good enough. I feel like the offense was good enough this game. And I truly believe it would benefit Day to not call the plays. Something has changed. I mean, Nevada and I are we're definitely in the camp that he needs to find somebody he believes in to call the plays, because it's hard to be the head coach and call the plays. It's very hard. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
I don't know. I mean, do you think 24 points is enough to win in college football in 2023? Do you think 24 points is enough? Because what?
You want to hear something sad? So back in the old days, I know it was not modern college football. Like, that was our goal on offense with Tressel, was 24 points. It's like he had this stat where it's like if we scored 24, we won like 98.9% of the time. So that was our goal. Now, modern football, you probably add a touchdown to that, make it 31. But I mean, if you score 31 in modern football, you should be able to win. You should be able to. But
well, if we just scored 31 yesterday, we would have won, but we didn't. Mm-hmm. So I think now, with the way that the game's played and the way the scoring's going, it's a different game for sure. And you just don't see many 24-17 or 17-14 games anymore. The games are much more higher scoring, and but yesterday I thought yesterday was the perfect definition of a team loss. Because there certainly was a lot, in my opinion, that the defense did not do, and there were some things that they did that I thought they did well. And from an offensive standpoint, I felt the same way. There's some things they did well, and some things they didn't do as well. And special teams was certainly a mixed bag. And coaching, Ryan had some sequences that were just amazing, and then he had other times where I thought he just tightened up. And there's a difference between coaching to win and coaching not to lose. And I think Ryan, I what I've noticed from watching college football, pro football, whatever it is the more secure coaches, like Bill Belichick, Bill Belichick was one of the first coaches to kind of embrace the go for it on fourth down, buck the analytics and do certain things because he was secure enough in himself to go, something, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do what I think is right. And let me tell you, Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell, he doesn't care. He don't care what you think.
No.
He's gonna, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But you know something? I can't stand the Lions, but I love Dan Campbell. I respect the heck out of him because he is fearless, man. He calls a fearless game, and you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes the stuff backfires on you, and you lose games. And hey, but I'll take that as opposed to a team that I won't say we played scared, but we played not to win because Tressel played a conservative style, but it was a conservative style designed to win the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he had some stuff. Every now and then he'd pull out some stuff like you said, like the pass to Teddy from the tight end position, or the wheel route to Claret, or the thing. Like he had some stuff. Like every now and then he'd pull it out. But with Ryan, I think he's still a young coach. I think he doesn't like to have criticism, and I think sometimes because he doesn't have another voice in his head, he will go the path that avoids him being criticized. And I think that those are the times when I think he needs to be more aggressive, and he just won't pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rich is where. Thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. I don't think everyone realizes how bad McCord's first interception was. I mean, it was brutal. That was an RPO that he clearly threw blind. Marv was double teamed the high safety. The run blocking of that was really good. I mean, again, like I am a big fan of attacking where they're weak. Again, I would, read The Art of War a few times. Like, don't attack a walled city. Like, don't run. For me, it was don't run at their D tackles because they're really good. Now, I know the one drive we mauled them, but like, I'm not trying Chris Jenkins. And I mean, they've got as good of a group of D tackles as there is in the country. They're as good as Georgia, Bama, whoever you want to put up against them. Their edges aren't. Like, I did not think their ends were special. I think that they're average guys. They're like 7th round pick type guys. They're not guys that I was like, oh my God, they're not Hutchinson or Lamar Woodley or Frank Clark or the guys that are big time NFL dudes have made boatloads of money. These are just guys. So I was like, please attack those guys. But no, I thought the run blocking on the edges was good. And when you have Cade kind of denting the edge, it helps. Like Cade does a really good job stealing those guys and climbing. So you got to take advantage of that. And Julian Fleming, you put him in the slot. He's a war daddy as a blocker. He's not a great pass catcher, but he's a great run blocker. So you got to take advantage of that. Buckeye 91, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you. Has been BTR. I'm not sure, better prepared mentally for 3 years. OSU hasn't prepared mentally, can't run the ball, and defense has caved second half for 3 years in a row. I don't know if the defense caved. They couldn't get off the field. I mean, obviously, like there's no excuse for not getting off the field. But it's tough. I mean, again, the thing about Michigan and that style of football is that it gradually pulverizes you, and it's something where, like when you guys are boxing fans, I'm sure a lot of you guys are fighting fans, like, those body blows might not be significant early in the fight, but later in the fight, those things start to sting. The cumulative trauma of it, of getting double teamed and hammered, and especially like when we frankly just don't have enough depth on the D line. We don't have enough guys that they feel comfortable rotating in versus a big powerful team like Michigan. Like, I mean, I didn't see a lot of Kenyatta Jackson, I didn't see a lot of Caden Curry. It was Jack and JT because those are the two big strong guys we got at the end. And I thought those guys actually played really well. But they're it's hard to get double teamed and battered for 2.5, 3 straight hours, and then by the end of the game, like you can barely walk. Ty Leak was in there, Mike Hall, Hamilton, Ty Hamilton. I mean, it's a really tough gig, and it really hurt us that Tommy played as much as he did, and I love Tommy Eichenberg. I have just massive respect for him, but he has one arm right now. Literally, his shoulder is so bad he literally couldn't tackle with his one arm. So I'm sitting there thinking, in 2005, I blew my knee. I hurt my knee in the second quarter against Penn State. I got my knee, tore my MCL completely. I had no way to stay in a stance. Like my knee would slip out of the socket when I got in my 3-point stance. So I had to make a decision. I'm like, look, if I go out there against the first round pick, Tom Bahali, I'll probably blow my knee out. And I also can't block the guy on one leg because He's really good, and I could barely block him with two legs, and I handled him up until I hurt my knee. But I couldn't play. I was like, I can't get in a stance without my knee slipping out of the socket. I'm probably going to blow my knee out. So I had to not play in the game. And I tried to wrap it, tried to put a brace on it. But I knew, like, for the good of the order, as much as it killed me, I had to not play because I was going to be at like 30%, and Rob Sims at right tackle and Alex Spin at right tackle is better at them at 100% than I am at 30%. So, we ended up losing the game, obviously, and it killed me that we lost because that was a team that I thought we were better than. But I had to take myself out of the game. And again, there's nothing in the universe I hate more than not playing when I was part of the team. So Tommy was in a situation where he's a captain. It's Michigan, all jacked up last year with the program, and he played, and he didn't play well. Because again, you can watch, if you go back and watch it, he's trying to tackle guys with his head and like his one arm. And against Blake Corum and those guys that are war daddies, like that ain't gonna work. Try to take on those blocks from those 6'6" guards with one arm is hard. So probably should have played more Cody Simon and Steele, but we did what we did, and Jim Knowles was leaning on Tommy, and and it hurt us. He didn't play well. But so again, it is what it is. Nevada, do you feel like, Michigan, they've been the better prepared team the last couple years, 3 years. I think they cheated the first years, but this year they're ready to go. Credit to them. Again, I hate Michigan, but those guys are ready to go. Go ahead.
Well, one, I don't agree that they ran the ball better than we did. We ran the ball for both. We both had the exact same number of yards per carry. Just they ran it more than we did. And that play, the play that literally swung the game, is a perfect example of what we're talking about. It's a perfectly set up play to hand the ball off to Trey, and Trey's going to gain yards. You may gain big yards, you may gain small yards, but he's going to gain yards. Instead, we throw a pick down to the 7-yard line that completely changes the game. And that's the game. That's the game in a nutshell right there. Because, from our standpoint, we just would not commit to the run in a meaningful way, and I think Kyle made a really bad decision. Whether Marvin should have made a better break on the ball or whatever, he's got to read that you can't throw that ball in that situation. We all could see it. It was perfect. Like you just hand the ball off in that situation, and you take your licks and you go on and you go on to the next play. But he had made up his mind that he was going to throw it, and he did it, and he got it picked, and they got a lead, and that was an absolutely enormous, gigantic play, and it was something that we could never, ever overcome. And the irony that it was on a play that was blocked up perfectly and with the perfect weapon and probably would have been Trey's biggest play of the game is just, so impossibly difficult to comprehend, but it happened.
Yeah, I agree. Weiss Bookie Services, thanks for the 2. Recruiting nationally drained player hate for Michigan. I think there is something to that, but I also think that the fact that we won for like 20 straight years drained it just as much, because I think that a lot of these guys think that it's going to be easy, and they don't realize how hard it is to win up there. They can say all the right stuff and march with the band and all that, but it was different growing up in the 90s where Michigan owned us, 2-10-1 and whatever Coop was, and and then Trust made it like the focal point of the whole program was Michigan, beating Michigan. And so, it wasn't an accident that all of a sudden we got really good against Michigan, because he called tremendous games. He always had us prepared, and he always had us ready to go. Like he always had us like gassed up, but we weren't, like nice, calm, easygoing, not easygoing, but we knew what it was. And like I said, a lot of us were products of the 90s. We grew up watching us lose, and like that was a game that we never took for granted. Even like you bring up 05, you brought it up a bunch of times where we were losing deep in the game. Like we still, we still needed our playmakers to make plays. We needed Troy and Santonio and those guys. And you're not beating Michigan unless your quarterback and your receivers have great games. Unless it's a rainy game, then you could have Beanie have a great game. But through the years that we've won, the skill guys have got to carry the load and really do a good job. Nevada, do you agree that recruiting nationally has strained the player hate for Michigan? I think it's strained the overall love for Ohio State, just because, and again, I'm not trying to like start a war here or anything, but like a lot of these kids, they didn't even know Ohio State existed, or they weren't Ohio State fans until they got really, really good under Urban Meyer and now Ryan Day. And Ryan's he's got a jetway to the NFL for quarterbacks, for receivers with Heartline. But so a lot of these kids, I think that it's more the path to riches, and that's fine. Like again, I don't care why a kid like JJ Smith comes here. As long as he comes here, I'm good with it. I don't care if he grew up like in the Seminoles or Alabama or Georgia. Kids are more transient now. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
I don't think, to me personally, I don't think that's the biggest deal. I think the biggest deal, look, let's be honest, the last 2 years they knew what plays were coming and they were cheating. So that's that. This year they have a veteran quarterback who played a great game by anybody's standards, was very responsible with the ball, didn't turn it over, extended plays with his arms and his legs, and they were at home and they won by one score. So I just don't think you can, try to make too many rash conclusions about things. But I know this isn't exactly on topic, but I think it's something that I want to talk about, and I want to make sure I talk about it before we don't get too loose on some of this stuff. But
Hmm.
when we're talking about areas that we can improve and things that we can do to get better, look, we got to get better in the transfer portal. And that's on Mark
Yes.
Pantoni and those other guys. We have to get better on that because Pantoni gets he for years we just complimented Mark left and right and all over the board. He was kind of the golden child, and we made him that way. We let people know about how good Mark was. Mark's not the same guy. He's not working as hard as he was when he was under Meyer. He's not under the same type of pressure he was under Meyer. And look, he's got to be responsible for identifying and sourcing and recruiting these guys in the portal because we've had some notable successes in the portal, but compared to other teams, I don't think we've done as well. And I don't think, I think for Ohio State, we should be picking and choosing. And that's an area that we've got to get better at because in college football in 2023 and beyond, it's portal and free agency driven. And we've got to up our game in that area or we're going to fall behind.
Yeah, like I would be going absolutely crazy for edge rusher, D tackle, interior offensive line. I mean, you have to be and linebacker. Oh my God, we lose our top three linebackers, and yeah, I'm sure CJ's good, and Sonny will probably be a will linebacker next year. But you gotta go get those. You gotta replace those big guys because there is a chance we could lose all four of our D linemen. I mean, Mike, Tyleek, Jack, and JT. I think JT's gone for sure. I think Tyleek is very much could be gone. I think Mike's gone. Jack's on the fence. So, you got to go fill those up with more than Taiwan Malone and Caden Curry and, those guys. Because I think that's going to be significant. I mean, the thing about this defense is this is a very veteran defense. Proctor, Tommy, Steele, these guys have played a lot of football. And next year it's going to be a lot of fresh faces, a lot of growing pains. So if you get some older guys, and if you can go get a guard, especially because we're gonna have Carson back, we'll have the two tackles back. But if you could get a guard or a tackle and you move Josh Fryer into guard, which is where Josh Fryer wants to play guard, he doesn't want to play tackle, but we don't have anyone else to play tackle. Maybe you put Luke Montgomery at right tackle and you put Josh at right guard next to him to help him out. But whatever you do, you gotta get one more offensive lineman who's a real dude. Like God bless Victor Cutler, but he wasn't ready to play at this level, and he didn't play at this level. So I think the portal is something that of all the things that we need to get a lot better at, that's it. And Davison was fantastic. We've picked some good guys up, but I would go get a superstar running back. Again, like you look at what Alabama gets out of the portal, they got Jameer Gibbs, top 15 pick running back. Like those are the kind of guys we need to go get. That's a great question though. Chief Roca, thanks for the 5. Saw a crazy stat where Michigan had only put it once in the second half, and the last 3 games combined need better leadership. Doesn't surprise me. The last 2 years they cheated. This year, they just held on to the ball. I mean, they converted, and again, when your mentality is that we're going to go for it on fourth down, you have basically have 4 downs to get 2.5 yards a carry or whatever. So it's a little bit easier. And honestly, I think that JJ McCarthy's mobility really helps them convert because when plays break down, like I think about that cross body throw. I think about the one throw he made on the sideline. Things all of a sudden coverage loosens up and things break down, and it's hard to stop. It's hard to defend. It's hard to do whatever against. So, I think that having a mobile quarterback really helps you convert on third and fourth down. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, like clearly. You look at the game though. People act like it was like only one sided. We only punted like 3 times. They punted twice or something like that. I mean, it wasn't like they were getting us. We outgained Michigan. We outgained them. They had less yards than us. They had less first downs than us. They had a worse third down conversion than us. So it wasn't like, Michigan was doing all this. It was one of those types of games. And when it was 4th and 1, we blinked and punted back to them. And when it was their 4th and 1, they went for it. And that's the story. And like that's when you give up possessions like that, that's tough. That's tough, and clearly we'd like to see the defense do better, but I think they wore down. I thought the rotations yesterday were a little odd, or I should say the lack of rotations yesterday was a little bit odd. I think they clearly wore down. Would have liked to see them get off the field more. The bright side from my perspective is a number of those possessions they held them to field goals, so they kept us in the game. The defense played good enough for us to win the game, and the offense played good enough for us to win the game. But we didn't win the game because we didn't get any of the high value plays that kind of broke our way. And we like in hockey, sometimes they call it puck luck. We didn't get any
Mhm.
puck luck in this game. Like
Yeah.
every time the puck went to the net, it hit off somebody's butt and went into the goal. And sometimes that happens. And if you're a fan of hockey, you see those games and you're like, man, you're not making excuses, but sometimes that's what just happens. And
Mhm.
for us, I think I wasn't look last year defensively that wasn't great. The year before that defensively we gave up 9 yards a carry in the second half
Yeah.
2 years ago. This is a completely different type of game. I thought our defense fought hard. I thought those kids played tremendously hard. Would I love to see some more stops? Absolutely. Um, but do I think the defense lost us the game? No. Nobody will ever convince me that. And I've seen that take on some of the message boards. And let me tell you, I think that's a stupid take. So
Yeah.
if you're writing that on the message board, I think you're stupid because
Yeah.
this was a team loss all the way around the board. Plenty of blame to go around, but just blaming the defense, I mean, just dumb.
Yeah. It's hard to count a touchdown against someone when they get they start on the 7 yard line. Like
I
that's
mean,
kind of
yeah,
on the
come on. I
offense.
mean,
So it's like if they score 30 or whatever, I mean 23 of the points the defense gave up, but that one touchdown that's on the offense. Remember Larry Daniels, thanks for the 5, appreciate you, my man. Remember what you said about Urban Meyer and 2 high safeties. Run the ball, don't throw the slant, play DBs with 3 yards instead of Meyer. I know, like I looked at the leverage he had and I was like, that is a crazy throw against. I mean, if you're playing Akron maybe or you're playing New Hampshire, maybe you could throw that. But I mean, if you're throwing a guy as a first rounder and a really good player, like I wouldn't try that dude. Because again, they watch a lot of film. They know what we like to do. They know we do those RPOs and we run a lot of slants. It's a exceptionally risky play, and if a guy's good, he's going to pick that, and he did. Yeah, the Urban Meyer thing. He said, because with Urban, the way he ran the quarterback, he never saw 2 high safeties. That's what he was talking about. And he said, if we ever have a team that plays 2 high safeties, we should run for like literally 1,000 yards in the game. And he was right because like just from the math, they'd always be one guy short. If the way we ran the quarterback with 2 high safeties, we'd shred them. So we always saw a single high because they have to keep that extra guy in the box, the strong safety in the box. But it doesn't really apply to us because we never run the quarterback because that's I don't know. I don't want to get into why we don't run the quarterback, but I watched it in the NFL review. I watched CJ Stroud run for a touchdown today. Like he can run. Wow, it's amazing. Like he can run. He scored a touchdown. Like the NFL MVP is going to be worth $1 billion on his next contract. He ran for a touchdown. So, Lord Jesus, give me strength. Expedition Greg looks to the 5. What are the chances of Ohio State still making the top 4 in your opinion? I think they're good. Again, do we need help? Yes. It would have helped if Florida could have knocked off Florida State yesterday. Yes. Louisville could beat Florida State. I mean, they don't have their superstar quarterback. I think that again, like when it sucks with the championship thing because it's kind of like we're like in the mothballs now. Like our hay is in the barn, but they're playing these games and literally like you've got we've got the probably the best loss, and I don't like to say we have the best loss, but like we lost to the number 2 team at their place by 6. Like that's again, you don't have any losses because that's the thing is you want to control your own destiny, but that's as good of a loss you can have. And we beat Notre Dame, we beat Penn State. I don't know. What are your thoughts about it? Your thoughts on this getting in?
Yeah, I mean, our chance. I mean, look, we definitely have a chance. Is it better than 50%? No, but it's certainly greater than 0. I'd say it's probably. I'd say maybe 35% probably. But it's a better chance than you had in '07 of making the national championship game. I can tell you that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. I mean that's like the easiest thing of all time, just because we we went into that. We had to make the top two, and we needed Oklahoma to beat Missouri. We needed the backyard brawl. We needed Pittsburgh, who was terrible, to beat West Virginia. Like I was resigned that we're going to the Rose Bowl. We're going to play USC, and because I was studying for finals. I didn't care about it. I kind of tuned into the games, but you don't want to get your hopes up. You don't want to get my mind was that we're going to the Rose Bowl. We're going to play SC. We're going to be fine. And then all that happened, and it is what it is. Pablo, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. You're on here all the time, so I appreciate you. We lost the game because of 1 QB play, 2 special teams play, 3 days decisions, 4 linebacker play. So fix by portal shopping if there's somebody better on the team. I thought Mccord, that pick was awful. Obviously, I mean he was okay. I mean I thought he did enough to win the game, but at the end of the day, you need him to make enough plays to win the game. And was he okay? Yeah, but against Michigan, you have to be great. You have to be like Troy Smith. You have to be like Terrell Pryor. You have to be like Braxton. Braxton lost in 11, but in 12 he was really good. I don't know. Special teams play again. We missed a field goal again. You can almost hang your hat on it. I wish there was a bet where you could say the special teams will let us down, because I'd lay my house on that the special teams are going to let us down every single week, because they do. This is how it is. Day's decisions. Yeah, I mean, punting it on the 46 was terrible. Linebacker play. Yeah, our linebackers were not good yesterday. Still had a lot of tackles, but we missed a lot. And against Blake Corum and those guys, you got to be on point. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about this a little bit too, and I thought Sonny Styles really struggled out there. I think he plays, better when he's not in space. I think he's better when he's close to the line. But, I'll personally say that I underestimated the impact of losing Lathan Ransom. I thought that maybe Sonny Styles would be a better fit for a run-heavy thing like this. And in hindsight, that was probably a bad take. Lathan probably would have really helped us out. But it is what it is. I love Sonny, love the kid, love everything about him, loved his dad. Think he's got a bright future here and in the NFL, but he wasn't ready yesterday. And, I thought he was in position to make some plays and he just didn't. And, that's the frustrating thing is when you scheme it up where you have a guy, if a guy's there to make the play and he doesn't make the play, that's tough, because those are plays that should be stopped, and it just didn't happen. Extended drives ended up in scoring drives, and that's frustrating.
No, I totally agree. Pablo, you got a second one on here. 2, Parker Fleming has to go. Hire an OC that gives play calling duties to help Dave become a CEO. Look at 2, and then after promote Laurinaitis. Again, the Parker Fleming he's the biggest flipping boy in Ohio State history at this point, I think, and Ryan extended him, so Ryan likes him. But I mean, I know our special teams are bad. They cost us the Georgia game. It's been, the Michigan game last year, we fake punt. It was tough. It was real rough. But I think obviously we're all for hiring like a real OC. I know Hartline's got the title, but like if Hartline's not calling the plays, like I like the OC to be the tight ends coach like Kevin Wilson was, because you're more involved in the running game than you are as a wide receivers coach that Hartline is. I think a lot of times tight ends coaches are former line coaches that really understand the rushing scheme a lot better than a receiver coach would. But yeah, Ryan needs to become a CEO. I totally agree with that. I mean, Urban was, Nick Saban is, Kirby Smart is. Like those guys aren't calling either side of the ball. And then promote Laurinaitis. Again, you guys know how I feel about James. James needs to be on the road recruiting. He's a young coach. He's learning it. But if he could be a major asset to this program, it's in the recruiting game. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Well, look, Nick Saban to me is the gold standard. Nick Saban is, whether you like him, hate him, or whatever it is, nobody has won like Nick Saban. And when I look at Nick Saban's coaching box, you're looking at Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, and you know what I'm saying? Like you're looking at guys that are, past NFL head coaches, and and I look at our box and it's like a bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? And I think Ryan's got to, he's got to make a full commitment to a better, more veteran staff. And I think until he does that, we'll always suffer. And again, Parker Fleming, I think Parker Fleming is an easy target because he's the special teams coach, and we can get mad at Parker Fleming and nobody really knows what he does and stuff. But to me, it's Parker Fleming is just more kind of a representative of Ryan's coaching style, which is reward young people that are completely loyal to him that maybe don't challenge it. I mean, the fact that he gave him a raise and an extension last year after the worst special teams performance that I've ever seen, that was kind of, that was a statement, and I'm not sure it was a great statement, but it was definitely a statement.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it anymore because I think it's ridiculous, but it's what Ryan wanted to do. I mean, he made the bet, he's got to lay in it. Expedition Greg, thanks for the deuce lace on Michigan's investigation. I mean, it's quiet over the weekend, but obviously they added 2 more NCAA investigators to the deal. Nevada broke that story. Anything new, Nevada, in the last 2 days?
I haven't heard anything new in the last couple days. I know that there's going to be a new NCAA update and that's where I think people were kind of getting that Michigan could possibly be disqualified from the Big Ten championship game because there's going to be an update on Tuesday from the NCAA to the Big Ten office, basically dropping their latest tranche of information that they've gotten. So I think things could get spicy this week as they share more and more information. And it certainly, like, I have no interest in watching the Big Ten championship game, and I throw up every time I see Fox advertising it on TV. But it is going to make for an interesting thing when Michigan beats Iowa and Petiti has to hand them the trophy or whatever the heck that is. That's going to be a little awkward. So
That'll be must see TV at its
yeah,
finest.
yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. So that's the latest on that. Who do we see staying and going? I'll go through my list mentally. Obviously, Marvin and Mccord are gone. Trey Henderson's gone. Offensively, I mean, Donnie should not go, but there's a chance he might go. JT Tuimoloau is gone. I think Mike Hull is gone. Tyleek is maybe, but he could be gone. Jack Sawyer is a maybe. He could be gone. Denzel Burke is gone. So that's my list. Nevada, do you agree or disagree with any of those?
No, I don't. I don't disagree. I think I think Donnie stays, but I think everybody else goes. I mean, this is the toughest part of everything we're doing is predicting this stuff because kids stay for the dumbest reasons and kids leave for the dumbest reasons, and this one's tough. So people have to understand these are just guesses because this stuff could completely change, and it could change with a draft evaluation from the NFL, good or bad, or if somebody has a girlfriend or if somebody feels a calling from the Lord or whatever it is. So you just never know on this stuff. So it is always kind of an exciting time to see who stays and goes. But hey, we're Ohio State. We always have to replace people, and we're a deep roster, probably the deepest roster I've ever seen at Ohio State. So next man up.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll be fine. I mean, next year, if you want to talk about who's returning, we get both tackles back. Yeah, and they might put Josh in at guard if they think Luke's ready to go at tackle. You got Dallin. We're going to go portal shopping for a lot of positions. I think we're going to even take a portal quarterback. Mccord's back. You obviously have Ennis and Tate at receiver. J.J. Smith's coming in. He'll make people forget about Marvin Harrison, in my opinion. He's really, really good. People have been dying to see C.J. Hicks. Well, guess who's on deck? You got CJ. We got a lot of really good young DBs. Jermaine Matthews was flashing all year. Lake Hartford. So, it'd be exciting for some of these young bucks to step in and see what they can do. Now, there's going to be growing pains because they're not going to be all 5th and 6th year seniors like they were this year. But, that's kind of the fun part about college football is that how good of a coach are you? Can you develop these guys? Can you not develop these guys? Kind of is what it is. I'm going to break down a couple more plays. This was the first touchdown we had. Again, this is the kind of stuff I love in the goal line. This is a misdirection. You fake the stretch here, crossbody, get the seal here, and you run Mecca across the formation. And again, this is easy money. Like, I love play designs like this. This is so hard to defend, especially when they're in man. I mean, this guy is a Mecca in man, and he has to go through all this traffic right here to get over there, and that's almost impossible. I mean, you see, it's not an accident that we're running a drag route right here where he's gonna kind of muck up the pitcher and make him, bow his path down here. And it's hard to keep up with the Mecca when you got to race him to the sticks and you got to change your path, decelerate. Guy's still on the skits there, which is a good job. But that's the kind of stuff I love on the goal line. I don't love when we put our 7 tight ends out there and do that kind of deal, because I think that this is just like free money. When you have guys like a Mecca that are really really quick, I think it's exceptionally helpful. But this is, and I'll break down a JJ play real quick, because this is what I'm talking about JJ McCarthy. So I talked about guys that can move, guys that can run. Again, this is really really good by JT Tuimoloau out the top. This is instant pressure. They put a tight end on him, which is almost like suicide. JT beats him. Jack's here. Got him pinched. Jack loses contain. And this is the thing about JJ is he can break contain, get out here. And this is 2nd and 5. And he's dead to rights. Like, we got Mike Hall and Jack, 2 guys that can run. So they're going to get him for a loss if he doesn't throw it away. And instead he zings it on the run and makes a play. And again, this is a ballsy throw, but these are the kind of the plays you need to make that, you look at the sideline, it's like electricity instantly. And he gets away from pressure. And that's something that Kyle Mccord, frankly, doesn't really do. And again, that's a tough throw. It's a good catch, but that's what I talk about when I say I like mobile guys, because they're just really tough for these guys to deal with. Here's the sack from Jack and Mike Hall. I know we got a lot of Jack didn't have any plays, but I mean literally the next play on this highlight reel is a sack. So here Jack wins on a speed rush. Bulls this right tackle was not good. Bulls Mike Hall, him and Mike together really work well together. So Mike gets them, Jack gets them. Again, like Jack, I mean, I really thought our front 4 played good. I mean, these guys were jacked up. These guys were kind of leading the juice. But, again, when you play defensive line with 0 rotation, it's almost impossible to stand in 4 quarters. I mean, because you go watch that NFL game today, go watch that Nike game today. I think Jerry Bosa is out, but go watch Khalil Mack, the other DN. Like, they rotate those guys. I mean, Myles Garrett rotates in the NFL, and he's maybe the best end who's ever lived, and he rotates in and out. So, when we don't rotate those guys and they play a really physical outfit like Michigan, it's exceptionally difficult to sustain excellence. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada, the JJ stuff?
Well, I mean, look, he made a couple. I mean, he made a few just unbelievable throws. You want to call them unbelievable, you want to call them lucky, you want to call them whatever they were, but he made plays. And the OSU Michigan game, or any big game, all down to who makes more big plays and who makes less big mistakes. And they made big plays, and they didn't make any mistakes, none. They didn't put the ball on the ground. They didn't have any. They had 2 penalties. They played a clean game. It wasn't amazing. I didn't feel like they didn't run the ball up our throat or anything. I mean, they were effective running the ball, 4 yards a carry, just like us. But they didn't make any mistakes, and we made mistakes. And it's you don't want to nobody's putting the blame on one person or one player or one everything, but we gave up essentially a pick 6, pick down to the 7-yard line, and we lost by 6 points. That's the ball game, guys. I mean, that's what if you want to bring it down to, and the fact that was on a play that was clearly, it looked like a designed RPO, because the guys were run blocking in that play, and I just don't know how he doesn't hand the ball off. I mean, especially, if Ryan's worried about being conservative, we're down at our end, run the ball, man. Run the ball in that situation. For Michigan to get an early score like that in this game, I thought was just absolutely enormous. I thought if we could have jumped on them, get ahead 7-0, get ahead 10-0, no telling how the game could have ended up. But them getting an early score, getting a gift touchdown like that, was worth everything in the world, and they took advantage of it and still managed to hold on for a really close victory. So I was proud of our guys for battling back.
Yeah, this is Kyle's best throw of the day for my money. Our boys, Jimmy's laid off the ball here because of the noise, but he gets enough of the ends. These 2 ends, they're good enough, but our tackles do a great job of just running them around the edge. Kyle does a great job of stepping up here in the pocket, and he just laces this ball. Donnie hangs in here versus that guy was their most active D tackle. Carson hangs in there. He's about to take a pop, and he just lets it rip to Marvin, who gets tackled by their good corner and hauls it in. And magically, it's like, I mean that was something that I talked all week. I was like, the skill guys got to make plays, and that was one where Kyle made a great play, Marvin made a great play. But again, there just wasn't enough of it, and that was one where the guy interfered with him. Um, God, he got Trey killed. I mean, Kyle had a couple kill shot throws where these guys got killed as soon as they caught the ball. But our field goal team, missing the kick before half, I thought was a big momentum swinger. Just because, like, I've been in the locker rooms when you force a stop or whatever. It's something I thought Michigan did that is something that I wish that we could figure out a way to do. And I don't know if Aaron Nolan is the guy to do it, but they put in their backup, who's a fast dude. This guy can sprint, and they run the Q run wildcat stuff, and this was a nice little shot in the arm for him. I mean, it was kind of a this is early in the third. I think that they held that until after halftime, because then if they show this before halftime, you got the defense in the locker room. You can get on the grease board and you can say, okay, when this guy comes in the game, it's a run, and here's what they like to do. They like to run this little counter play. But if you hold it till after the half, then they can't see it. So they run this counter back this way where they pull their good guard, and they split it. And this is something where Proc, thank God Proc gets them out. But I mean, this is one where this could have gone, and those are free money. And then of course their kicker makes the field goal. Ours didn't. But I like that little switch up. Get another super chat. Spook Junior, thanks, brother. Is this the starting QB job up for grabs this spring? Well, I think every job is up for grab every spring, and it kind of depends on what our options are. I mean, Kyle, like I said, Kyle wasn't he wasn't terrible yesterday, but he wasn't good enough to beat Michigan, and that's the problem. I mean, he had a nice year. He's surely in the mix for probably a lower tier All Big Ten, second or third team, just based on his numbers, but. He also had the best receivers and the best running back for at least half the games, and he had the best receivers for all the games. So I don't know. I think Kyle is the guy next year, but I think Ryan Day is always looking to upgrade that room. And if there's portal shopping to be done, there's portal shopping to be done, because he was going after Drake May hard last year, and that was a kind of an eye opener, because with Kyle Mccord coming back, like, what are we going after Drake May for? And people are like, oh well, because I think that's what chased Dylan Raiola. I really do. Your thoughts on that? Is the QB job open in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's open internally, but I would be absolutely shocked. It would seem completely counter to Ryan Day's personality for him to go out and get a transfer QB over his guy Kyle McCord. I mean, I would I like to see that? Would if he went out and got some sort of transcendent talent and had him come in and do it? Yeah, but I would bet against that happening, because I don't think that's who Ryan Day is. I think Ryan Day likes to have it his way. I think Ryan Day likes to have guys that are completely loyal to him, that are his thing, that's kind of a product of his being, and so I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. But I reserve the right to change my mind if he did that. But that'd be semi shocking to me.
Totally agree. All right, Sheffer Healthcare, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, man. JJ and Milrow proved it Saturday. Hertz and Allen proved it today. Having cable runner QB puts a lot of stress on the defense. We can only go so far with a one-read QB that can't move. Portal time. I mean, again, we came up here to start, and that Eagles game is still going on, but I know Josh Allen ran for like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it looks like Hertz ran for a zillion yards too. I'm actually going to pull the score up right now. So it's 37-34. The Eagles win. The Eagles are now, what are they, 10-1. Jalen Hurts, 14 for 65 and 2 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen, 9 for 81 and 2 rushing touchdowns. And, I mean, the Bills they're kind of floundering at 6-6, but they were a popular Super Bowl pick. And, they're not losing because of their quarterback. They're losing because they can't stop anybody. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Again, I know we talk about it, I think, every single day about how much we love watching running quarterbacks and how difficult it is to defend. I mean, Justin Herbert's playing right now. I'm sure he'll run around versus Lamar Jackson, who's probably maybe the greatest scrambler that's ever lived. But your thoughts on that? Do you think we'll ever see an athletic quarterback at Ohio State again?
Well, and we have them. I mean, people don't think Devin Brown's very athletic because they've seen him in limited action. And Devin Brown's plenty athletic. Devin Brown's as athletic as J.J. McCarthy. I mean, he can do that stuff. He can move around. He can run around the pocket. He can run the zone read action. Aaron Nolan's the same way. So we've got Lincoln Keenel's the same way. So we do have it. We just happen to have the only unathletic guy. Now, my bigger concern is just Ryan's own putting limitations on the quarterback, because we've seen with C.J. Stroud that he can run because he runs for the Houston Texans. He runs for touchdowns. He runs for first downs. He extends plays with his legs, and he didn't do that at Ohio State. So that just tells me that Ryan Day is telling the quarterbacks not to run. And I just the only reason I comment on it is because we're such an outlier in all of football. It used to be that we would just be an outlier in college football, but now we're an outlier in college football, in high school football, in pro football. We're literally like the last team that doesn't run the quarterback, and I just don't. I just don't think that's a good place for us to be, and I think that's something that needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud was literally their leading rusher. They had 47 yards and a rushing touchdown. So, again, they lost 24-21 to a Jags team that's decent. I mean, they're good. They're 8-3. But, I mean, he outrushed Devin Singletary, Pierce, like all the guys they had in front of him. So, again, I just think it's harder to defend. And thank God I had Troy Smith in 04-05. We probably don't beat Michigan. $5 from Taterbuck. Appreciate you, brother, for being on here. Do you think that Kyle Mccord should have made more progress at QB this year? I do. I think he left a lot of meat on the bone, given how good his receivers were, especially with Marvin and Cade Stover. Again, now the bar is exceptionally high at Ohio State with Haskins, Fields, Stroud. This isn't Bowserman. This isn't some of the guys from the early 2000s that weren't great. This is a different offense. This is a space age offense with fantastic receivers. So. Yeah, I think he could have been better. But I also think that I get being a first year player. I've been a first year player. I expect there to be a massive jump next year, just in terms of his grasp and control and leadership and comfort. But what say you, Nevada? Should Kyle McCord have made a bigger jump this year?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because again, I thought he didn't play badly against Michigan. I thought he was fine. It's kind of like I feel about the defense. I thought the defense did a lot of good things, and then there were some things that weren't so good. With Kyle, he did one really, really bad thing, but then he made some beautiful throws too, and made some things, and he missed some bunnies though. So it was kind of a mixed bag with Kyle, but and I may be in the minority here, but I think we can win with Kyle. But if the one thing I'm doing is I am willing to run Kyle. Kyle's athletic and he's willing enough to run. I'm telling you he is. Ryan Day's just got to let him do it. They've got to put more running plays in for Kyle to keep the defense honest and encourage him to do that. And if he gets injured, if he gets banged up or whatever it is, that's why you have other guys in the room. That's if NFL teams can do it with NFL quarterbacks that are worth $1 billion, you can sure as heck do it with Kyle McCord. And that's on Ryan, and that's something that has to change. That has to change. He's got to change his way. He's got to change his philosophy about the way that he's addressing the running quarterback, and get into modern football, because I think he's really, really holding us back with him limiting the quarterbacks that way.
I agree. Ed, this is a great chat. Thanks for the deuce. Will we see Harbaugh and more at next year? That is interesting. I don't think we're going to see Harbaugh. It'd be interesting to see if Moore skates too, given what I'm sure he knew. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
I don't think Harbaugh coaches next year at Michigan. No. I don't think Harbaugh coaches anywhere next year. I think Harbaugh's going to get nuclear weaponed off the face of the coaching planet for years to come.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm going to break down another play, and we will get out of here. But these are the kind of things I love, that when we do this, 3 into the boundary, this is the boundary. The short side of the field is the boundary here. So we put 3 receivers into the boundary. We got Cade out here, little run action here. This is so easy. Like we pull the guard, we pull the tackle backside. So you get a lot of eye candy over here. Draw guys over, make them make a false step, and then Kyle's got a nice easy little dump. This is like a pregame warm up throw. Nice and easy. You got guys here blocking the 2 edge guys, so he's not going to get ACL'd. You leave this backside edge, he's not going to be able to make the play. And this is just so easy. This is so well designed. And it's 15 yards, and like this is a throw that Kyle can make in his sleep to an athlete that needs the ball. You can't run this 50 times a game, but you can run this 5-6 times a game and get the free money. And if you look at the front side, if we hand it, what do we got if we hand it? I mean, it's probably pretty decent. It's like if you if they know this isn't a true RPO and he kicks and walls, I mean, there's something to work with here. I mean, even if Trey bounces this thing, I mean, there's a lot of green. This is this guy versus all this green space for Trey. So um, but that's the kind of stuff that I just wish we did more of. Honestly. Well, Nevada, we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys being a part of this. Any final words, Nevada?
No, just I mean, boy, I watched the game. I told you I watched the game a second time today, and it's tough to do, but necessary for our job and in terms of doing it. But boy, we were close. Boy, we were close, and I just like I said, I left the game with just a overwhelming sadness for the kids because they played so hard, represented us so well, and they came up with a victory in a very tough place to play, and let's just keep thinking positive thoughts because I really truly don't believe that the final chapter has been written on the 2023 season. I think there's more to come.
I totally agree. I think that say a prayer. We need some help to get in now, but if we get in, we beat any of these teams. I mean, Georgia again, almighty Georgia beat Georgia Tech, who's like 6-5 or 5-6 or whatever. I mean, they beat them 31-24. So they're not. They're not. I know that they're good. And they're the defending champions and all that, but they're not. No one's unbeatable this year. So we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys as always kicking it with us. Thank you for the super chats. Again, when you super chat, you automatically get answered as quick as possible. Sometimes the queue builds up a little bit, so we apologize if it takes a little bit of time. But we enjoy doing the show. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell. That is huge for us, and we appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Got a bunch of Scoop Ultra members. Scoop Ultra is a YouTube premium feature where we're going to do a Scoop Ultra chat once or twice a month. Probably twice in the in-season. Once in the off season, it's going to be me, Nevada, and the Scoop Ultra members just answering any questions. So make sure you join that. It is literally, if you search Buckeye Scoop on your YouTube, you'll see a little tab that says join. You click on that and you can join Scoop Ultra. You get a little badge. It's really cool. It's really fun. We appreciate you guys supporting that. Again, if you guys aren't members of BuckeyeScoop.com, the board is absolutely crazy right now. I'm about to jump on it now. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Again, the sun came up. The Bucks are going to be fine. I think there's going to be a nuclear winter in Michigan next year, so I think we're going to be in really good shape next year. So really excited about the future of the program with Ryan Day, and I think we're going to be in good shape. So that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I will talk to you tomorrow. Go Bucks.